right, welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is News Check, a program that seeks to explore issues shaping the news in the country, and we have in-depth conversations in studio to analyze these issues for you and I. So in studio, I've been having a panel of two gentlemen, Dr. Churchill Saoke, a political analyst, and Willy Mbugua, a politician. We are talking about the road to 2022 general election, and of course, we just want you also to be part of this conversation. In a bit, we'll be talking about hate speech, and the question we want you to help us answer is, should political leaders be held personally liable for violence instigated by their supporters? I'll take that again. Should political leaders be held personally liable for violence instigated by their supporters? You can start tweeting or just sending in your messages on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. We will be getting into that part of the conversation in just a bit. But before we went to the break we had just a while back, we were talking about the multi-agency team that has been formulated to guide the country on the 2022 general election, that contains quite a number of stakeholders in this particular multi-agency team, from the Ministries of Interior and ICT, Judiciary, IEBC, National Treasury, Communications Authority, Office of the Attorney General, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. They are being chaired by the CJ, Martha Ouma. And I just want us to talk about the role of the judiciary in this particular, team. And yesterday, gentlemen, Martha Ouma actually announced that a technical committee has been formulated, and they're going to be presenting a work plan in the next 10 days. But what stood out for me, and I'll just take you through what she said, are some of the things that the judiciary is doing as their part, as the role they're playing in the electoral process. Currently, she said that they are coming up with a way in which they are going to ensure that all election-related cases are dispensed within 90 days. And of course, they are also going to ensure that they train at least 120 judges to handle election petitions, most of them also relating to what may come up as a result of the 2022 general election. So 120 judges are going to be trained on that. Also, they are going to train some 480 magistrates and 400 judicial officers, as part of the plan, also just to ensure that the judiciary plays its election dispute resolution mandate in a better way. How do you feel about this game plan by the judiciary, and what background are they working on based on what probably has failed before when it comes to the role of the judiciary in handling election disputes? And is this strategy going to help things get better for us as a country?
Well, I think it is important because we are in a country where people are very empowered. The citizenry are very empowered. Any decision that is made, they can go and dispute it in the court. So I think the need to come up with a strategy to continue to dispense some of these cases that will be related with the election is important for the purposes of ensuring that there is no process or there is no step that is derailed because of a court injunction. If anything happens and a court injunction is given for any step, then we are working on a very tight schedule.
Yeah, true.
So if you're working, in fact, even the 90 days, if a single court injunction is given to some step on the IEBC's roadmap, or any decision that they make, it will have a far-reaching impact. It could be on issues around procurement, it could be on issues, it could actually be on constitutional, legal issues or policy issues. Because you see, the policy issues around IEBC now are in public domain because of the interest in the election. So there's nothing they can hide. Any decision they make, they can't hide it. And the public will be of interest with it.
Yeah, to understand why. Does it give you some sort of assurance, because he says they play a very big role. Any slight decision by the judiciary actually can derail us in this process. So
fortunately or unfortunately, Fortunately or unfortunately, as a politician, you don't take everything at face value. You have to critically look at things.
So where are we going with
because we are not visitors in this country. There is a history we can use to judge where we are coming from and how we are here. We have had issues of the judiciary nullifying a whole presidential election and then going back to the ballot. That is a plus, okay? That is a good thing. And so slowly we are coming out of that disbelief and that not trusting in our institution, now to start trusting in our institution. You see, when people go to the courts, they are looking for justice. They are hoping that there is a bone of contention between contenders. And so when they go to the court, they are looking for justice. If you want, let it be said that you want free and fairly. And so what we are looking for in the court is that justice. It will be free and fair. Now here comes the fear for me again. We have had the judiciary factory resetting some of the some of the unconstitutional things that have been done for the last 4 years in this country, like Huduma number. We have been said it's null and void. We have had 4 major cases being brought down by the judiciary. Have we now trusted the judiciary such that if there is a bone of contention in the presidential election in 2022, we can easily trust them? You see, justice is justice. If you cannot prove, then that is a case to be argued.
Ideally, we should. I mean, I don't think there is another option.
We have so much faith right now in the judiciary. We have so much faith right now in judiciary, and we hope that they maintain that status quo of that honesty and the trust that they have gained from Kenyans. If we continue that way, then we are okay.
And I think the other biggest whether they are going to find a lot of work is when we will come to political party nominations. Because you see, the major political parties, there will have to be a lot of disputes. Some of them could be handled by maybe the political party tribunals. Some of them might, some people might feel that the tribunals are already aligned to specific candidates, and they might want to, seek some justice from the court. So at that time, the window period for the nomination of candidates and the gazettement of those candidates is also a very short time that is well fixed by IEBC. So it means that the judicial system will come in very handy
at that time
to ensure that there is no lag at any given point.
Let's hope that the trainings and just equipping the human resource will go a long way in speeding this particular process, so that no timelines are lost in the road to the 2022 general election. Let's talk about hate speech a little bit. And we're having this conversation just a few days after the chaos witnessed in Busia at one of the political rallies that was organized by the Deputy President William Ruto. But I'm just bringing that in because it speaks to what we have seen in this country before.
Yes.
Platforms, campaign platforms, turning chaotic, and politicians feeling like they have the right to say anything about anyone, anyhow. And this sometimes doesn't really go well with the populace. Let's talk about that. It
doesn't, and it is not going anytime soon, as long as we do not have trust with the institution. Not so long ago, we had very powerful politicians who spoke about a certain tribe. They were branding the tribe as Madoadoa. They were branding. There was a very famous narrative that it was 42 against 1. And we all know how.
Let's be careful not to advance the words that were used. Because we know the impact.
I will retreat back, but that is history we cannot run away from. We cannot run away from the truth. That even 100 years from now, that goes down in the books of history, and the children who will refer to that history, it will be written there. And so we know where we are coming from. These are still the same politicians who are scotting free right now. Most of them even have state security right now. They are even campaigning on state machineries. No one will touch them. But the people down there on the food chain of politics, let them be protected. Same with the guys up there are being protected. Let's have very strong contingency measures that if you are caught speaking or spreading hate speech against a politician, against people asserting against a tribe, that whatever position you are seeking for, it will be declared null and void. There is no conversation about it. You spoke it, it's on record, it's on media, it is captured, then your certificate to run is withdrawn. So for the sake of that, making sure that an election in Kenya is not a matter of life and death.
All right,
and that profiling becomes very dangerous if it is not mitigated at this particular point and stage.
It's true. But how much of that have we achieved? We've seen this scenes before, this name calling, and there's evidence, there's record, there's the National Cohesion and Integration Commission also, you know, on this mandate. But how much of action have we seen when it comes to taming hate speech in this country?
I think the politicians have gotten used to the fact that there's nothing that can be done to them when they talk.
True.
And so it really does not, they really don't care about it. What they know is that they'll speak about it, it will make them popular at the grassroots. A few videos are going to be taken, they'll be posted on social media, people will share, and it goes and ends.
It will raise emotions for 2 days, and it goes down.
And so I think that it is very important. It's very important for even the multi-agency, and I think we have spoken this thing before, that there is need for, you know, when NCICK coined this thing called hate speech, they actually even needed to define the scope of hate speech and anchor it on a legal, bring a legal framework around it that would have a punitive measure for anybody who propagates hate speech. Because if that is not done, then also, you know, it will just be like, you know, so-and-so spoke this, it is hate speech, and that makes it more popular. In fact, as it is now, they thrive on the hate speech at the grassroots level. Because there are certain things about specific communities that some communities want to hear.
I will underline that word, want to hear. So who is to blame here? The politician sells a narrative that, according to you know, them, is what the public wants to hear. So who is to blame in this equation?
You see, what happens,
is it the public or the politician?
For such utterances?
You see, what happens is that the history of politics has been that the politicians have used myths. They have created myths to advance their political agenda. Some of these myths have created divisions in the country. Some of these myths have been believed by people, and even young people have believed these myths to the extent that it is part and parcel of them. So the reason why they want to hear it is not really because it is good for them. It is what they have had over the years. The politicians have impacted it on them. Their parents have impacted it on them because their parents were impacted by the politicians. Are you getting? Everything rises and falls on leadership. If the people think the way their leaders think.
So at the end of the day, you are saying that the responsibility goes back to the leader.
Let me tell you, if we get leadership that inspires the people to nationhood and brings punitive measures to people who divide the country, people will go in that direction.
The problem is, we have gone that direction before. There were those bodies of the government that were in charge of the politicians and the electoral process. There are things they said, there are things that were not acted upon. When you talk about maids, there are also some very strong words that are not even maids. It is on record. I will not mention. You have told me not to mention names. It is on record.
To tame hate speech, not advance.
Yes, it is on record. Some people saying that for some people to be president, some people have to die. What do you take of that, my sister? What do you take of that, my brother? And these people today, I will not mention them names, but they are still scotting free. Today, who will come out when we say that there is that voters' apathy, people don't want to wake up and go and vote? It is because there is enough history in this country that we say the more things change, the more things they remain the same. They are saying, when we say wajinga wameisha hii inchi, there are people who are saying, I will not go and vote and lose my property. I will not go and vote and lose my child. I will not go and vote and lose my own life. So let those who want to go and vote, go and vote. One bad decision does not bring down one issue. It carries a whole load of so many things that calculate to so many things.
Right.
And so if things don't go wrong, things start wrong. If we do not fix the mess from this point moving forward, God forbid, 2022 election might be worse than any other time in history, God forbid, if we don't put that upon ourselves, and not just the government
and
again.
That's why we are having this conversation.
yes,
because I want us to really understand the genesis of the problem and how we can proactively.
I think we need to do civic education ourselves. Do civic education from where you live, the community, the people you work with. Do it from all angles and every platform, so that we don't leave that responsibility on the government, on the security agencies, that it is up to us to educate one another.
Churchill.
And just to add something again, you know, apart from a leadership that inspires the people, the political structures, the political organizations, here being the political parties, have a big responsibility to play. Because if you have a leader who is leading XYZ party, you believe in XYZ ideals of nationalism, growth, and things like that.
True.
It is your responsibility to find how do you cascade this, not just within the people, but within those who believe in these ideals. That means that it is incumbent on you to ensure that you actually clean up every mess that is likely to hinder that ideal from being well understood by the people. What I'm saying is that if politicians take advantage of dividing the people through hate speech, it should not just be the responsibility of government to stop it. It should be the responsibility of the key political leaders of the political organizations where those people are, to tone them down and tell them that this is not what our party believes in.
All right. So I'll take you to the question we are asking this morning. So should political leaders be held personally liable for violence instigated by their supporters?
Yes, they should.
What do you think? This is what the Interior CS, made very clear yesterday. Do you think?
They should, and we're in agreement. But the question is, do we just take that as face value? At face value, can we see him acting on that? Can we see some people right now going to cells and jails for propagating hate speech between now and the next general election? Though we have been promised many things, deep and great words have been said in the past, but they don't act upon them. So this time round we are demanding for action. We are not going to lose one more person in this country because of an election, and we will hold them accountable on every platform we get available.
All right.
And then the other thing,
what do you think first about this?
That is
this warning.
It is a
warning.
It is a stern warning.
Yeah.
It is a stern warning, but the implementation is not easy. It's not easy. Because if I am a political leader and my supporter incites people, how do you legally attribute it to them? Because you see, in the ultimate end, there will have to be a legal basis of raising issues to the politician.
I think every case in Kenya, and not just Kenya, is based on evidence.
How do you prove that I am a supporter of so and so?
That is it.
You see,
I could come to your rally and do something.
Yes.
At the end of the day, how will you prove? How will you hold this politician
at the
accountable?
political food chain, whatever I say, if I'm down there, I am nobody, has no impact on anybody. But if I'm up there, whatever I say, some people will run with that as the sheer gospel. Okay, they will act upon the leader they look up to. And so let us classify this issue on who said what, where, and when. If it can be proven that you, politician A, and B, and me as B, said such words, and we have this much influence, it is proven in a court of law that you said, then let the law take its course.
That is fine. But you see, when you now attribute it to a supporter, then it becomes very difficult. Because somebody cannot take as they say, if that is what I understand, somebody cannot take responsibility for what you are.
I think it is very simple. It is very even simple. Do you know why? I will tell you why it is simple. Every Kenyan right now, most probably, they are registered on a political party. Okay? We enroll on political parties. I'm a member of UDA. You're a member of the political party you're affiliated to. If it is proven you said those words and it is on record in the registrar of office that you said this, this is UDA person, then you are held liable.
Mbugua, that is anarchy.
No, it's not.
No, let's pick this up after we take some. And I want us to separate what the CS is: violence and hate speech. Hate speech, you were heard saying these words.
Yes.
Violence is probably you are having a rally somewhere and then some goons created some sort of chaos.
Yes.
How do you prove that these were actually your supporters, and how are you going to be held responsible?
Yes.
We'll come back to that later. But right now, the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya is currently having an event in collaboration with LG Electronics at 14 Riverside. We are just going to be crossing over to that. They are unveiling the sports personality of the month. As we speak, let's listen into what they have to say.
International sprinters, but yeah, I warned him. I told him we're coming for him, and not just him alone, but also the Americans and the Jamaicans. So, but I'm that guy who doesn't like competing with people. I compete against myself, bettering my time and breaking the records.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jubilant Ferdinand Omanyala there at a function that has been organized by the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya in collaboration with the LG Electronics as they unveil the sports personality of the month. We'll be getting clearer details from our team from the sports desk in our subsequent news bulletins. But right now we are having a conversation on the road to the 2022 general election, and in studio I've been engaging Willy Mbugua, a politician, and Dr. Churchill Saoke, a political analyst, and we were talking about hate speech. Yes. And then we kind of like, you know, just went into talking also about violence that is witnessed at some of these political gatherings. And I wanted us to be very careful when we are talking about these two issues, because when you're addressing hate speech, then that you can categorically pin down to a particular individual who said something that was termed as hate speech. But when you're talking about violence that was witnessed, the chaos that erupted in a particular forum, and a call here, a stern warning here of taking responsibility, that person who, the politician was having this particular forum, to take responsibility of that.
Yes.
How practical is it, considering the political dynamics in this country?
It is very practical. It's very practical. Make sure the person who initiates violence takes responsibility as that person. A nation is guided by law and policies, okay? Why do people register? Why is it a demand or a requirement from registrar of political parties to have its own members registered under their party? Okay? It is very important if you register as a new DA member and I am caught then like this by the government, I'm the person who is now initiating and progressing violence. If they hold me as accountable
as an individual,
let my record come out clear. This is a UDA member registered at the political at Kenya, at what do you call this person? Registrar of political parties. Your name is there, so that now if you are paid by politicians, you say, hey, me, I'm a member of a certain party, and it is not the party that will be held accountable, it is me as a person. So we will have these people now saying, hey, me, I don't want your money because my name is at registrar of political parties as a member of the... So they will not be used.
No, what of those who have not identified with any political outfit? They are not even registered.
That is what I'm saying. Make it a requirement
to come and create chaos.
Make it a requirement for a voter to be registered in a political party.
I think the best thing is to hold people personally responsible for chaos they cause, and not attribute it to any other thing. If you have gone and caused violence, you are personally held accountable.
Yes,
irrespective of the political affiliation, because
or who you're supporting.
Of who you're supporting, because you see the point is, you see the reverse political psychology, where you know, you might be an opponent, I might be an opponent with someone.
Yes.
Then to I'm going to have a political rally somewhere, and we are arch rivals, and I want to bring the perception that the other gentleman is the one who is creating chaos.
Exactly.
So I pay my supporters, go throw stones.
Exactly my point.
And then,
that's why I asked you.
So the point is,
Kenya,
the person who has carried the stone and carried the fimbo and carried the rungu, you are responsible.
Yes.
Of what you have done.
And it doesn't matter whose political rally it was. Yes.
So it's this proposal of holding that political leader accountable for violence that was, you know,
it's not practical.
It's not workable. That's what you're saying. But then do they have a role to play though?
They have a big role for me.
What should they do?
For me, I think as a lover of this country, as a patriotic citizen, I believe that any leader has a responsibility to ensure that he brings sanity amongst his supporters. By embedding the ideals of that political party amongst the people who follow him. If you are a follower, if you believe in violence, make your people believe in violence.
The buck starts and stops with those political leaders, especially the ones we look up to. We will be cheap of the old blocks for every leader that we follow. If William Ruto, whom I support, incites something against another person, it is so easy for me to do that. The same for the other person. And so it is entirely the leader's responsibility to make sure that we have a united nation. We are not fighting amongst our nation, amongst ourselves. Let the battle be on ideologies. Who has a good agenda for us as a nation? So if you're defeated at the general election, you are defeated because your agendas were not comprehensive enough for the people of this country.
And by the way, you know, the other thing that in a more from the perspective of monitoring and evaluation, one of the reasons why politicians have always, you know, the moment you take discussions into personalities, you lose the content and forget to discuss the ideas and what you will do.
Yes.
Now, that has happened because, you know, politicians know that, you know, we can promise something and the promises are different from delivery. I will not necessarily have to deliver them. It was just a promise. You know, when you look at democracies that are advanced, what you speak in public, you will be held accountable for it.
What you promised to deliver.
What you promised to deliver, you'll be held accountable for it, and it will determine your credibility in office.
I think that does not have to be enshrined in our law. It's a matter of common sense. You know, some things, you don't have to capture everything on law. It is a matter of common sense. Take a case in point. This person have been in government for the last 57 years. What have they accomplished? What have they done for the people of this nation? This person has been in government for 10 years. What have they accomplished? That's a matter of common sense. We cannot enshrine common sense on law.
But I think if you ask me, looking at what these politicians are selling, I don't want to believe there's any politician who has come out and sold a narrative that is working against the interests of the public. Everything they bring on the table is to some degree, you know, beautiful and hopeful for the country. I think what Kenyans are interested more in is who is selling what. The person. We still go back to the personality.
True.
We are not focusing on the ideas that these people are selling. It's who is selling what. Is that working to our disadvantage?
Well, it's because we are still in the earlier stages of our democracies, where, you know, we are still more into the personality than the organization or the structure of the political parties. When you look at countries whose democracies have advanced, and people believe in the political party rather than the people, rather than the person at the helm, I mean, it works. The transitioning works well. When you look at Japan, the gentleman who was the prime minister during the time of COVID resigned because the public opinion felt that he did not handle COVID well, and he resigned, and the whole of his cabinet went. And another person from the LDP came, who was from his similar party, and the transitioning was so smooth and lean, and so it's because their democracy has advanced over time. So even us, a time is coming when when we will begin to be focusing so much on innovation and things of economics, to the extent that that is what we are interested in, not politics of mobilization and political rallies and things like that. Yeah.
I also think the tides are changing as we speak. Just last week I went to the garage and I found it was a group of 5 mechanics. They were arguing about 2 proposals that have been fronted by the two horses that are in the race right now. They were arguing, if it were up to you, would you take a wheelbarrow or 6,000 shillings? That was the argument. So as a politician and a person affiliated to a certain party, it was my responsibility to do civic education. And until we narrow down our campaign on civic education, I told them why it is impossible to give each unemployed youth 6,000 shillings. It is impossible. And I tried to, as a politician whose my interest is my party, I was telling them, if you have a wheelbarrow and you make 500 shillings profit per day, you make 12,000 to 15,000. Anyway, those are politics. And so I want to believe the tides are changing.
Willy, I see where you are going.
No, I will just say the tides are changing as we speak. We are now narrowing down to issue basic, that we can argue on promises. Who promised better, who did not promise better.
Yeah.
And the problem again is we are coming from a 57-year mind conditioning of tribal politics. It is not an easy undoing. It will take time that our person said this, we don't have to listen to what is it in for us, as long as our person said we go this direction. So we have a long way to go in unwinding all those foundations on which we found politics being done upon.
So we are still
and
caught
so
up
we can
in
appreciate we are at least
caught up in this era of our person.
Our
Who is
person.
selling what?
Who is selling exactly?
That
It doesn't matter what you're selling, but who are you?
No, exactly. Who are you to us?
It will change with the time.
Who brought you to us?
It will change with the time, because times are coming ahead, and the generations are rising. When the person you know will not determine opportunities you get. See, that is where the problem has been. The person you know will not determine the opportunities you get if you do not have what it takes to get that opportunity. That is how nations make fair, level playing field for everybody.
I wish that time was not coming. I wish that time was now.
It is too early.
We've been waiting for it.
It is too early. It is too early now.
Who will do that if not us? No one will do that.
It is too early now to expect them to do it, because there is a way they have crafted their political machinations, which they will want to use to acquire power, and that can change. But as time goes by, people are getting exposed, people are getting educated, and transformational leadership will happen in this country that will change how people think.
Okay.
Saf, let me add on to something. I think the biggest downfall we have in this country is delegating duty on a certain class of people. Who are we waiting to do that for us? Who are we waiting to give us the civic campaign? Put it upon yourself. Do it upon yourself. The person you're supporting, support them on ideologies. Okay? Do that. Just put the responsibility upon yourself. If anything is going to change in this country, it is not even about the politicians. It is about people who are down here. Educate each other.
Something has to be started from within.
Exactly.
From within,
yes.
For you to go register as a voter, it has to be within.
Yes.
Yes, and it changes when you hear the voices of people. Revolutions come slowly, but when they come, it is something that you can change.
It is a diarrhea you cannot hold. So
okay, I am really looking forward to that tomorrow. That tomorrow
starts now.
Churchill is painting for us, because that's what we need.
It is already going on, but it will manifest.
As time goes by.
All right, let's talk about the people to watch and the issues shaping the 2022 general election. Let's start with the issues. That's where my heart is. Let's look at this road to 2022 and what Kenyans are currently going through and what narratives are being sold to them. What do you think are the fundamental issues that every candidate who is vying for whichever political seat, considering the plight of Kenyans and what they need to really heal what is ailing them, what are the issues that they need to bring on the table? Any person who has not even come out and declared they are going to vie for whatever seat. Let's start from the issues.
Of course, when you look at the issues around economics have come out very strongly, and I think it's because of the timings, and building ecosystems of business is a big issue that is going to determine the election moving forward. Many institutions are struggling, and we cannot necessarily attribute it to specific timings of regimes, but COVID came in. Those are things that happened, which we have to be privy to, and the government that is going to come will have a lot of work to do to ensure that people get their jobs, businesses are back on track, institutions have got money that they can be able to run their basic operations. Development is infrastructure development continue to go on. So these are things that if any political person that is running for office, or from whichever cadre, from the presidency down to the grassroots in the MCA, must be privy to. They must be privy to that the cost of living also has gone extremely. They've also gone extremely high. So how are you going to cushion Kenyans
against that?
So
the economic agenda is really key.
The economic agenda is very key. That's one. Two, the question of national unity is something that is very important.
True.
Because we are going to go into an election, people are going to be divided, and people are already getting divided. You need to come up with frameworks of ensuring that every Kenyan and every citizen from Mombasa to Lokichoge will fit part and parcel of Kenya. So the issues around equity and national cohesion is something that is going to be very important. National unity is going to be very important moving forward. The other thing that is something that is important to watch are issues around the role of Kenya in the community of nations. When you look at the recent past, Kenya has been at loggerheads with its neighbors in Somalia, and how are you going to handle this? We are at a threat of losing one of our territorial integrities. Are you going to leave it to your neighboring countries, or are you going to go head on head to war with it? Those are hard decisions that they will have to make as you go into the presidency. The other thing are even issues around reforms around government and how to undertake government. We are just rolling out issues around CBCs, okay? CBC. That transitioning, how are we going to deal with it? What kind of product is it going to bring? Is it going to bring the kind of workforce that had been envisioned? Because if it is not well done, some of these, I think they're now in grade 5 or something. As you go and they transition into higher junior secondary and senior secondary and into the university, is it going to bring the right product? So a lot of thought process will need to be undertaken around some of those major issues, ranging from economics, education, security, and even diplomacy. So it's a lot of work that the politicians must really... I like
the ideas that you brought up. You've actually really opened up this whole conversation, because I have a feeling we were focusing on one area, the economic agenda. And do you like how this narrative has been sold to us? Let's focus on the economy.
I really like that. Before we get to the economy, we cannot fix the economy because it's something we have failed to do so in the past, like it works for everybody, and there are reasons why that has not happened. Because the people who are corrupted, they are able to use their communities as their human shields. And so it takes us back to the tribal cocoons that have hindered even our economic growth. And so when you tell people not to practice tribalism, you have to give them a better option. Okay, and the better option of telling people not to practice tribalism is giving them unity of purpose. So first things first, unity of the nation. Unite people to do what? Give you economic empowerment. So it starts with unity of purpose, then it goes to economic empowerment. When you empower Kenyans, and now they no longer think about my person, my people, and now they are able to work in a very conducive environment to do business, because up to 70% of Kenyans are self-made people. They are people who employ themselves. These are not people who are employed on white-collar jobs. These are people who create something from nothing. Another regimes come and hit them on the head, they go down. And so we are looking at a government that, as it gives people economic empowerment, there are very good policies that are put in place and in power to make sure that it is nurturing those small businesses. Because when people are working and they are making a lot of money and good money, they are able to pay their taxes very well. Okay, life becomes cheaper, because the reason why there is over-taxation of goods, it is always a sign of a failed economy. And so if we have a widened tax bracket where a lot of people are paying taxes, you now realize that we will reduce the taxes that was however paid by 5 people, it is now being paid by 20 people who are paying it in bits. And so once we start reducing the taxes because of the widened taxation bracket, life becomes cheaper for everybody. Our schools become very affordable for people. We have even savings to save. The nation, as we move into the next phase of this country, will rely more on savings from the people to build their own economy. And so these are things we will start looking into. How do we give people tax incentives on insurance cover, so that now we can be able to bring money together for the government to borrow and give back to the people with a lot of interest, just like China does. And I feel more we are going to go China way here in Kenya once we start doing that. And the road might not be realized in the next 5 years. It might go to 10 years, but we will start from here today. And so once we start doing that, then we can say, now we are beginning to be proud of a nation.
You will stand into an economic analyst here.
Because for me, it is about economy. When you empower people financially, it's just like giving them freedom. It is a form of freedom.
Churchill, do you like how this economic narrative has been sold? We have Raila Odinga's 6,000 monthly stipend for vulnerable youths. We have Deputy President William Ruto's bottom-up economic approach. Musalia Mudavadi really passionately advocating for taming the public debt, and I can go on and on. The list is not too hoarse. Of course, politics can surprise you. So
true.
As other contenders come on board, they will have their own version of how they're going to fix this country's economy. From where you sit, looking at what is being sold already, what we have in the market, is it something that really speaks to what is ailing Kenyans, economically speaking?
You see, the reality is that, as we have emphasized, we cannot overemphasize more that people feel economic. There's a problem with our economy, and the people are feeling it, because a lot of money is going into the external debt that is repaying the external debt, and so it has resulted into overtaxation, high cost of living, and people are feeling it. And so it is of course the politicians will do the right thing to try and sell for you where your hope is. And the hope of every Kenyan is that in the next government we can have a better economy. So they are doing what they do best, and they are right to do it. The issues are the how they will do it, because you see, it is one thing to speak about the economics in an optical manner that wipes the emotion of people. It's another thing to implement it to the extent that, because when you get to government is extremely humongous. You will realize you are actually there are so many things that you need to deal with, all of which need money. In fact, at some point you might even realize that the more pressing issues that I should not put money on any other thing that I promised. Is the bitter reality.
So until Kenyans should think, until it is delivered,
so I
still really can't count that you have it.
It is just giving a benefit of doubt. But then the idea, when you look at what all these guys are talking about, they're trying to appeal to the common mwananchi. They're trying to appeal to the common mwananchi by we are going to put money in your pocket. That's the point.
I like where we are as a nation and as a generation. When we speak of 70% of the largest population being the youth, we are talking of literacy levels are at all-time highest in this country than any other time in history, okay? For the last 25 years, or rather, let's say for the last 25 years, since Moi's time, there was so much emphasis on education, okay? And now that education is coming out now to pay. For me, I can speak what I understand better, the bottom-up economic model. I do not know anything about trickle-down economy that is being offered by the other side. One day in a strategic meeting for the youth and the economy, William Ruto opened our eyes to something we had never thought about. He asked us a very important question. Supposing we never borrow money like we have borrowed for the last 9 years, does that mean we will never grow the economy of this country? He said we have to go and do things like China did. He said people are the biggest resource in their nation. Then we have land as the biggest factor of production in the country. And so he said that Uhuru Kenyatta and his government have provided a very good framework for an economic revolution in 2020, by 2022. Uhuru Kenyatta Muigai, the president, has created a very good road network and even train network for economy in preparation of an economic revival. How that will happen is to make sure that all these road networks now become beehives of activities, of economic activities, from the regional level to the country level and even East African countries. One of the things that William Ruto says that we have now to look even beyond Kenya as a nation. We have to look at how we are going to do intertrading with our neighboring sister here, Tanzania, East African nations, and even Africa at large. He says if there is a time we need to look within our borders and what we can do as us, it is now. When did Mumia Sugar died, or Mumia's and other sugar factories died at the expense of importation of sugar? Rice, from where I come from here in Mount Kenya, died at the expense of importation of rice. And so we have to cut down on importations of goods and commodities that can be found within our borders. And so everybody we want to put in power under our party structure has to represent the economic structure of the nation of this country, from the world level up to the president level.
The other
you
thing,
can only speak what you understand.
The other thing,
not the other.
The other thing is that
we are almost running out of time.
I understand. The other thing is that, you see, for people to be empowered economically, which is what most of these guys are talking about, when I dissect their economic models, there's nothing different, I can tell you. There's nothing different. If that is to succeed, they will have to crack on cartels. Because cartels are the biggest problems for this country's economic growth.
I'm in agreement with you, my brother.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. I wish you could go on, because now I was about to get to the people to watch, but I'm glad I started with the issues, because that is where we should be focusing on. Maybe in another day, another platform, we'll find a chance to talk about the people to watch and have those people defend what they are presenting for the country and explain, at least for us to understand why, when they talk about bottom-up, when they talk about 6,000 for vulnerable youths, when they talk about cutting the public debt, what exactly do they mean? And how are they going to achieve that? But this is News Check, and you never know. That could just be one of the things we will be exploring in the future. Thank you so much for creating time for us this particular day. We are going to be paving way for the Swahili version of the program, Kurunzi Mashinani and Tambrini, a little bit later on. But from me, Serfine Achieng, and my guests, Willy Mbugua and Dr. Churchill Saoke, we are out. Thank you so much for creating time for us once again. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.